Switching to our final category, CRM, and another airline story with easyJet. We'd like to welcome to the stage Tash Whitmey from Havas Helia. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tash Whitmey. I'm the CEO of Havas Helia. We're an agency that gets out of bed in the morning to help our clients activate their customer data so that we can tell resonant and personal stories. And today I'm going to tell you one of those stories for easyJet, who are a client we've worked with for 8 years. So, the easyJet email program has been established and it's been running for 8 years. It's highly complicated. It's been optimized to the nth degree, and it really works. For easyJet, the email program is one of the key business drivers. So when we get a brief to change anything about that email program, we approach it with extreme caution. So when the brief arrived for easyJet's 20th birthday, they wanted to use email as a supporting channel in the range of communications that they were going to do to celebrate their 20th birthday. Now, as an agency, we're always a bit nervous about brands that come to us and say, we want to talk to our customers to celebrate a big birthday, because what that can often mean is chest beating, brand first, and not about the customer. So what we said to easyJet was, we've got a raft of data. We've got data on millions and millions of consumers over 20 years. So how about we try to use the data to tell the story and make it about the customers, not the brand? So that's what we did. We created a story for every customer, a story that was as relevant to customers who have booked once as customers who've had hundreds of bookings. Stories that inspired nostalgia for past journeys and excitement for the future. These stories were told through over 12 million unique emails, which were translated into 11 different languages. Great thing about this story, when you work for a CRM agency, is when you can really blend data and creativity. We know about Generation easyJet, who are easyJet's customers. We know they like to hear about their own travel behavior. We know they like to talk about themselves. So what made this great? Well, for us, it was the data analysts mining 20 years of transactional data to try and understand the stories that we could tell through that data, blended with the creative teams to create emotive micro stories that could be joined to build a unique narrative for each customer. So how did we do it? It was a collaboration between data science and creativity. The starting point was 20 years of transactional data for over 60 million customers, traveling to 23 different markets. We performed frequency analysis to identify the 32 data attributes that we could use to tell a compelling story. For example, your first flight and your last flight, the number of bookings, the distance flown, the destinations visited, even the seat positions on the plane, if you were a high-frequency traveller or had been a member of easyJet Plus. We then wrote stories to dramatize each of the data attributes and developed 770 lines of variable text to personalize them for every customer scenario. We then built data models to help us write the business rules, which could be used to build an algorithm to create over 12 million unique emails. Here's one of the models. This is the next destination correlation model, where we used historical booking behavioral data to inspire your next booking. Customers were segmented into 3 groups: young couples, families, and others. We executed basket analysis, which incorporated every departure and arrival destination. We included your booker type, city break, beach break, or combination. Seasonality, the times you usually travel, whether you book for yourself or others. And then we excluded previous destinations and destinations that were not linked to your nearest airport. The algorithm then outputted the 3 of the top scoring destinations with a confidence based on your last booking. So the result was that every single customer for whom we are able to email market to got a unique email that told the story of their relationship with easyJet from start to finish, highly personalized. The results were phenomenal. The client was over the moon. I remember sitting in their office as the results started to come through, particularly the social media results. The open and click-through rates smashed the targets. 430,000 customers went on to make a booking over the subsequent 30 days, which generated over £100 million of revenue. They took to social media. They made their feelings known. So those are all the transactional results, and that's what we love at our agency. But I think the thing that surprised us most was the sentiment on social media. So it's not very often that somebody posts about an airline ECRM program that it made them cry, and that's what one person did. And it's things like that have really allowed easyJet, it's campaigns like this that have allowed easyJet to be, a standout economy airline, because they do believe in their customers, and this campaign shows that. And with that, we'll take questions.
Nicely done, very nice. Just a question on because this is CRM data, the activation and delivery is only through email, or were you looking at any other platforms?
This was an email campaign,
Yeah.
so it was only an email.
Quick question. So I'm curious about, it's very nicely done, so it's very impressed. So did you come up with the story during the briefing process, or is your data analysis dictated which story is going to be impactful? That's one part. And how much of an human effort versus algorithm went into curating all these stories?
So I heard the first part, but not the second. So let me answer the first part first. So we didn't come up with the story in the briefing. So the briefing was, we're working with our above-the-line agency and our media agency. We're going to make a big splash around our 20th birthday. We're going to anchor it around Generation easyJet, because they're the consumers that have been, flying with us since the beginning. Given that you've got the data and, you've been housing the data and analyzing the data, and you do the email work, how can you come up with a story that takes that data and makes it about the consumer? Does that answer your first question?
That's correct. And how much of the human effort and the machine effort for getting the data to the creative part of the story? How much of the people that have to put through all these recommendations? So
this was about our analysts working with the data, building hypotheses, feeding that into the database, and then doing it automatically. But it was very much about the human element of understanding what's in the data and how we could find those insights that were going to craft the story.
Beautiful example. How are you using all the learnings you got on this activation for future activation on those audiences you selected?
Well, this is a very specific campaign. So this was about a time-based piece of activity, which was around the 20th birthday. So what sits underneath this is a highly complicated ECRM infrastructure. So we have a range of programs that take you from the point you book to the point you fly, and then in between. So we won't be using this specific code that we used on this, but we will retain the customer status. So we've updated the customer status on the database, so we know who received what and who reacted to what, and then that will drive any of the other campaigns that we do.
Great. Thank you very much.
One more, sorry. Right here. This was brilliantly done, right here in the back. Hello. And the one question I have is, during the briefing process, was there any sort of concern that consumers might react negatively to seeing their history, which, everyone knows my history sits with the airline, but just seeing that story revealed, was there concern about that, and did that show up at all in the data?
Well, the consumers that are part of the ECRM program, they're all opted in. They've all been receiving emails from us for, a sustained period of time. So we work, obviously, we looked into it, but we were confident that because we weren't being intrusive with this, it was a one-off email in and around all of the other emails on the ECRM program that it would be acceptable. And actually there was barely any negative response at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
you
you
very much.